For.
Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today we have the new Tier 9 Pan-Asian Battleship import to review for you guys today. Premium battleship at that, the Taihang. So the Taihang is a ship you can get for completely free here by playing through the combat missions for the... Oh, they're not the Journey to the West missions, or I think they're the Voyage Out West missions. Whatever, we'll go over those in a second. But yes, by playing through those combat missions and completing the web campaign, and with a few resources along the way, you can get this very Tier 9 premium battleship here completely for free into your port. But do you even want to do that? Is this ship even worth putting in all of that effort? Well, that is the question we are going to be trying to answer today. So as you see, I do have the Taihang here in port, which, nice segue into our thanking section for our Patreon supporters, because yes, I have bought my way through the event. If you really don't want to wait for whatever reason to get a free Tier 9 ship, you can buy your way through the random bundles to get the tokens required for this ship. So again, absolutely massive shout out to the channel's Patreon supporters. Without them, this review could not happen certainly this soon, right? So absolutely massive thank you to those guys. I'm not a CC, nor do I get any of these ships for free. So, well, we got to go through the wallet to get them, right? So again, massive thank you to those Patreon supporters. If you wish to support the channel besides just watching the videos and streams, Patreon is the best place to do so. So the Taihang, as you can see here in port, this ship should look a little familiar. This is the, what, third? Yeah, the third Hizen-based battleship. We have the Hizen, the Iwami, and now the Taihang. What do they call this? Was it the J30 design? I'm sorry, yeah, the A140 J3 design. So again, one of the super yummy designs, if you will. So yeah, well, no, sorry, it's not one of the super yummy designs. It was one of the precursor to the Yammies, or yeah, well, something like that, right? But Wargaming has graced us with, again, 1, 2, and now 3 ships based off of this hull. Now, what's different about the Taihang is that, according to Wargaming, it has some incredibly accurate 16-inch guns. As you might notice, those are Soviet 16-inch guns. These are, I believe, the same guns that you can find on the Soyuz, right? So these are what? The 46mm 50 B-37, and then the Soyuz is the 46mm 50 B-37. Yep. So yeah, same guns as the Soyuz, but I believe they use a different shell. This one uses the Soyuz uses the Model 1937 shell, while the Taihang uses the 1938 shell. So we'll see what that means when we get into battle. But supposedly, again, high accuracy, meant for long range. Soyuz is meant for, you know, closer range, right? So we're going to go through the Taihang, look at her stats and features, and then, of course, take her out into battle and see how she does. So let's go ahead and get on into that. All right, so for the exterior. Now, if you complete the event, which actually, let's take a look at that real quick. So in order to get into the missions, it's a web campaign. Head on over to the Remembrance of Ming's Past event in the Armory. Click on this top banner right here, and it will prompt you to, you know, enter into the campaign. You click through all the buttons, and then eventually you get, you know, you get the missions this way. Yada 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 yada. Whatever. Go to mission. Already have it. You click participate. There you go. So from there, you can go check out the combat missions, where you should have your missions pop up. Yep, right here, Voyage to the West. Hey, I was right about that. And then, you know, you just work your way through this. You get these adventure tokens, which then can be exchanged in the Armory for, because naturally just giving you one set of tokens isn't good enough. You have to exchange them for more tokens, because Wargaming just loves their tokens, right? So you can exchange them here for the Ming's Voyage token, By the time you done the web campaign, you should have 85% of the purchase price of the Taihang ready to go, which the purchase price is 780 of Ming's tokens. How do you get the rest of Ming's tokens? Well, if you come on down here, you can buy the rest for a combination of coal, credits, and free XP. Because, of course, Wargaming has to try and strip some resources out of your pocket in this event. But again, you can get it for free. Most of you probably have well over what you need for as far as these resources go in order to obtain the ship. So you do all that, you get the ship for free, and you should be able to get the Jinhang Commander, which he doesn't have anything else about him. He's just I think he has a unique voiceover. Can I hear you yap? Nope, can't even hear him talk. So I guess it doesn't have a unique voiceover. Normally they offer that somewhere around here if they do have a unique voiceover. So there you go. You can get him and the camo for the ship here. Let's take a look at that. New camo though. Look at that. Look at that. I mean, my God, you can't shoot my ship if you can't see my ship, right? But yeah, it's a unique camo. It's got those neat little cannon effects on the side. That's pretty cool. Do the gun ports open up when they shoot? Come on, do it again. That'd be cool if they did. It's only going to show it once. Okay, let's back on and go back into it. But that is a pretty cool little camo, I will say. Come on, do it. Do it. Naturally, it's not going to want to do it while I'm sitting here. Oh, there we go. Yeah, look, the gun port's open. That's pretty neat. Oh, yeah, it's a cool little camo. Yeah, okay. Alright, so you can get all that through the web campaign and stuff, and the ship. So you can get all that for free. Cool, right? So it is a free tier 9 ship. I know for sure you can at least get the ship for free, right? So, let's take a look at her now that we've gone through all that. Economics. So this is a full-on tier 9 premium ship, so you get the baked-in tier 9 premium economy. And you get, of course, the bonus package with the ship, which will give you a 10% buff to the credits, 100% buff to your various XPs. Okay. This is the default perma camo. This is like a post-World War II ship. So again, you know, what if the Japanese built this and it got given to the Chinese after the war, then the Soviets refit it with their guns, right? That's basically the lore behind the ship. So post-World War II ship. Again, camo's not really that big of a deal because radar. But again, I would have liked a little bit something more than just this flat gray camo. The armor now. It's, well, it's the Hizen armor. 32mm bow, 32mm bow deck. Mid deck is 140. Wait, hold up. I'll say that's all really friggin' thick deck armor, right? 32mm deck armor, 32mm stern. You do have the shell catcher right here, so be advised about that. 32mm stern deck. Get a little bit of a kind of icebreaker stern here. 229mm belt. 191mm belt below the waterline. Main belt is 356mm thick, and then the torpedo bulges are 38mm. Strip away all of the external armor. This is what you got protecting the Citadel. 140mm roof. Yeah, that's what we're looking at beforehand. And then you get the 356mm main belt armor. Underneath that, you have a 108mm angled slope in the middle. 115mm slope toward the front and bow of the ship. 51mm roof armor for the Citadel, and 32mm roof armor in the middle. This Citadel is fairly easy to punch. I'm sure many of you that have shot at the Hizen and the Wami know that, so you definitely don't want to be caught broadside on in this ship. You are not going to have a very good day. But it is meant to be a sniper anyway, so that might not be too much of a hindrance on its performance. For the main battery guns, you get 8 16-inch guns. Fairly low number of 16-inch guns at tier 9. But again, they are supposedly very accurate. They do have a sigma of 1.9, so that's pretty good. They have a 32-second reload time, a maximum dispersion of 230 meters at 23.1 kilometers. And the HE does a maximum damage of 5,800. It has a 40% fire chance per shell. They can pen 68mm of armor. They come out the tubes at 830 meters a second. The AP does a maximum damage of 13,250. And those two come out the tubes at 830 meters a second. Now this is using a Soviet shell. So Soviet ballistics. is probably going to very much just slip on through the air and maintain a good amount of that velocity at range and thus get good penetration. That's kind of the Soviet shells thing. Secondary guns, you get 8 dual-mounted 100mm guns, so that is 16 secondary guns, which, man, looks kind of nice, but definitely not a secondary ship. 7-kilometer range, you get a 3.8-second reload time, maximum HE shell damage of 1400, 6% fire chance, 17 millimeters of penetration, so this would struggle to pin high-tier destroyers. And then, of course, you get the 9 152mm guns that are mounted kind of awkwardly behind the third turret. And, there's difference between the third turret and the superstructure. That's just kind of a weird place to put them, but alright. Now, you do get torps. You get 8 533mm deep water torpedoes. So these can hit cruisers and up. They have a 10-kilometer range, 17,933 maximum damage. They travel at 62 knots. They're detected from 0.8 kilometers. Very stealthy torps. Get 2 charges of the airstrike for anti-submarine duties. Your A rating is 82. You do get 18 dual-mounted 25mm guns, 12 quad-mounted 25mm guns, and 12 quad-mounted 37mm guns, as well as the 16 100mm guns, serving a dual-purpose capacity. What's the range? 5.8 kilometers. Again, AA is kind of whatever nowadays, right? 28.2 knots maximum speed. Slow girl. Let me just check on the Iwami and the Hism. Were they this slow? No, they were not this slow. Dang, so she lost almost a full knot. Oh, wait, no, I do have the speed flag on these ships. Yeah, that's what's going on there. So it should be, let's go ahead and just slap the speed flag on, because that looks like a nice little speed flag buff there. Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, okay. It's the Iwami and the Hism's top speed. Consumption of 16.9 kilometers, which is not great. Was the Iwami and Hism's 14.3. Yeah, that's more than the... that might be the module putting in the heavy work there, but they aren't exactly stealthy ships either way, so we'll take a look at that. Yeah, we'll see what goes on when we slap the... when we slap the mod on there. But yeah, not exactly a stealthy boat. Alright, for her consumables, you get a heal and a damage con. That's it. 15-second damage con reloads in 80 seconds. For the repair party, 403 HP per second. 3 charges base. For a... Ooh, yeah, no, that's not... Only 3 charges of your repair party. Which, again, the Iwami and the Hism, they get, the standard 4 that you get on Tier 9 battleships. So, yeah. Giving up one of those heals, again, to get your gun performance. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and put a commander module build on this ship. We'll meet you right back here for that. Alrighty, so no surprise, we went main battery build with the Taihang. So, going to the modules first, we took main armaments mod 1. This gives us a 20% buff to the chance of our main battery becoming incapacitated, and a 50% buff to the main battery survivability, and another 20% buff to the recovery time for the main battery guns. Applies the same to the torpedoes. That's actually relevant here because we do have those deep water torpedo tubes on the Taihang. Next up, Damage Con Mod 1. Fires and flood suck, right? Do damage to your ship. Very rude of them. We don't want them running any second longer than they have to, so this reduces the chance of us catching on fire and flooding by 5% for fires and 3% for floods. Then we took Aiming Systems Mod 1. Why not make the amazing dispersion even more amazing? So this is a 7% buff to the dispersion of the main battery guns, and a 20% buff to the torpedo tube's traverse speed as well, along with a 5% buff to the firing range and the dispersion of the secondary guns. Alright, we then took Damage Con Mod 2, which gives us a 15% buff to the recovery time for both fires and floods. Again, if we can help the fires and floods not start or run for as short as they possibly can, we want to do that because, again, the longer it burns, the more damage it does to your ship, or the longer it floods, the more damage your ship takes. Okay, then we took Concealment System Mod 1 for a 10% buff to our ship's detectability, which, funny enough, still put it above the Wami and the Hism, so it is just naturally very unstealthy. So again, with Concealment, the stealthier your ship is, the easier it is to disengage, therefore the easier it is to live in unfavorable situations. Lastly, we took main battery mod 3 for a 12% buff to the reload time of our main battery guns. You could take the range mod, but we have a 23-kilometer range, which is pretty dang far by tier 9 standards. Yeah, it's not out there at 25 plus, but I mean, the ship can move, right? So it's not like we have an 18 or a 19 kilometer range. We have pretty decent range, so we're going to go with this for now. Plus 32 seconds on 16-inch guns is a very long reload time, especially on 8 16-inch guns at tier 9. So that's why I took main battery mod 3. Might swap it out for the range mod later, but we shall see. Alright, there are relevant combat flags, as you can see. So for the commander, we're running Mr. Darong here. He has an improved demolition expert, but obviously that's not really needed on Pan-Asian battleships, or really battleships in general, unless you are the British and just really don't like people. Alright, so we took preventive maintenance to give us a 30% buff to the risk of our modules becoming incapacitated, and a 15% buff to our secondary and AA mount survivability. Not that it really does much on this ship. Grease the gears to get those turrets moving a little bit faster and to counteract the debuff that we get from the reload module. So we essentially have an 8% buff to our turrets 180 time now. That's always nice on a battleship, and this one does have particularly slow turrets. We'll check what it does here in a second. Then Adrenaline Rush, because, well, if you are going to take damage, you should get something out of it. This gives us a 0.2% faster reload time for all the armaments on our ship per 1% of damage that we take. Then basics of survivability for another 15% buff to the fire and flooding recovery time, as well as our module restoration time. Emergency repair expert for that additional charge of the damage con, and it runs for 10% longer. I'm sorry, for the additional charge of the repair party, and it runs longer. The damage con does run longer too, but we don't need additional charge because we are not a Russian battleship. And then Consummate Expert, yet again, for another 10% buff to our ship's consummate. Again, the stealthier we are, easier it is to disengage from an unfavorable situation. And finally, Fire Prevention Expert, because, yes, yet again, fires suck. So this reduces the maximum numbers of fires, the maximum number of fires on our ship by 1, meaning we can only be in fire in 3 places instead of 4 places, and it gives us a 10% buff to the risk of catching fire. So as far as the Taihang goes, we now have, with the flag, 84,750 HP with the health flag. Our guns now have a 28.2 second reload time and a 180 time of 43.1 seconds. That is still very much like Yamato level 180 time. And we have a 214 meter maximum dispersion, which is far better than if you want to compare it to the Iwami with her dual 16-inch guns at 227 meters at a mere 22.3 kilometers. So we are further out than the Iwami, who already had some pretty nice guns with an accuracy build on them. And we have 214 meters of dispersion at 23 meters. That's looking pretty good. None of that should have changed as far as the performance of the shells. Maneuverability with the speed flag, again 29.6 knots, 880 meter turning circle radius on a 17.1 second rudder shift time. She's a big girl. Consumables now down to 13.7 kilometers, which, we do have the commander on here as well. Not overly stealthy, but not really standing out there either. 13.7 isn't really too bad. Sorry, Baz, I'm making content. He's going to love that's going to be in the video today. So, alright, let's go ahead and take the Taihang out into battle and see what she is like. Meet you guys there for the voiceover review. Alright guys, voiceover Sea Lord here. So, the Taihang. When this ship first came out, myself and others pretty much right away referred to it as the Chinese Slava, given the description that, Wargaming provided us with. And that is a pretty good TLDR description of the Taihang. You could tell someone, hey, it's a Chinese Slava, play it like a Chinese Slava, and they'll do pretty well with it. It's got a lot of the same characteristics as the Slava, smaller caliber guns for its tier with excellent accuracy. My first couple of salvos in the Taihang were actually quite terrible, but then after that, I don't know if the barrels had to warm up or something, but in that first match I had with her, then I started getting, those good, accurate, consistent salvos after that first just terrible opening salvo. But the game you're watching in the background right now, this was like my fourth or fifth game of this session when I sat down to record background footage. This was a pretty good one. It's a nice lengthy game, and you can see what the Taihang is all about essentially from this one match in the background. But as you can see, the guns are very accurate for a Tier 9 battleship. Now, it's not quite like the Slava. Obviously, this is a Tier 9, not a Tier 10. So, while, Chinese Slava is a pretty apt description, should be a little asterisk right there, like it is a Tier 9 Chinese Slava. So along with the 1.9 Sigma and the excellent dispersion that you see above, you do get, I checked on this before going to the review section, you do get a much better air drag coefficient than standard shells that aren't Soviet. That is a Soviet shell thing. This is a Chinese ship with Soviet guns, but they're not quite as good as like the Slavas. The Slavas have basically no air drag at all, because the Slava's air drag coefficient is a whopping 0.2. 0.2 flat. To give you an idea, the Yami, Tier 10 Japanese battleship, her air drag coefficient is 0.29. And the Montana, who again has the American AP shells that basically deploy parachutes after they come out of the barrels, has an air drag coefficient of 0.352. So those shells slow down quite fast out of the barrel. The Taihang has an air drag coefficient of 0.247. So while they do most certainly fly through the air a lot faster than, well, they don't slow down as much as technically what's happening. But yeah, they cut through the air a lot better than the Monty and the Yami and most of the other high tier battleships. It's not quite as good as the Slava, where it's basically ignoring the air, right? But it's pretty darn good. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. But anyway, so yes, you get to maintain your velocity at range a lot more, which means the shell's traveling faster at range. You get better penetrations, easier to aim at range. Has pretty much again the same gimmick going on as the Slava does. So it does have some differences. With that being said, they are fairly slight differences from the Slava's, gameplay style. Again, obviously, there are two different designs and stuff. I'm just saying, because it always gets compared to the Slava in the comments and such, referencing it. That's why I'm talking about the Slava so much. You do get that 32mm bow and stern, which, again, the Slava has to give up in order to get its, amazingly accurate guns. So you can actually tank a fair amount in the Taihang. Again, very much like, the ship that it's based on, right, the Hizen. The Hizen, if you stay angled, you can tank quite a lot of damage. In fact, in the background match, I think by the end of it, I'm darn near 3 million potential damage in the Taihang, which is pretty good. Because, you do have that nice, especially stern, and that nice little almost icebreaker wraparound stern, right? So angled in from the stern, you're going to be bouncing a lot of shells if you can present that profile to the enemy team. Bow in, you still of course have the 32mm bow, so angled enough, you can bounce a lot. The death knell of the Taihang is when you go broadside. Again, very much like the Hizen and the Awami, right? You get caught broadside, something shoots you with decent AP or large enough guns, you are going to get citadeled. But angled in, you can sit there for quite a while and just tank. Which is how I play the Taihang. Longer-ish range, presenting that stern or presenting that steeply angled bow profile to the enemy team. Can tank a lot, and then return fire with some amazingly accurate 16-inch shells with those Soviet shell ballistics. So, doing that, it's able to perform quite well in the Taihang. It's very, very good, very comfortable shooting ship from longer ranges. 18, 19, 20 kilometers, not really a problem. As far as the range goes, I felt like it was good enough for how I was playing the ship. I wasn't sitting in the back with the Taihang. I tried to stay like second-ish, third-ish line battleship, right? But not sitting in the back like you would find, Slava players, they stay in the back, but pretty far in the back. So not quite all the way back there, but definitely not on the front lines either, because again, you do have that weak side armor if you get caught broadside, and you do have one less heal than, you know, your standard tier 9 battleship. But it is a very comfortable sniper, but again, it's not quite like, you know, sitting all the way in the back Slava. So there's that. Now, the torpedoes were there. 10-kilometer range, though, that's not really going to be too usable for this ship. Now, the match you're watching in the background, the game did manage to evolve to the point to where it's like, okay, time to push up. Let's go in. We gotta, you know, we need to get some kills. We need to secure the caps. They could have been useful in this situation, but as you'll see in the background match, I did get to launch them, but didn't really get to do too much. They are deep water torpedoes, so if for whatever reason you're getting ran down or you're having to run into, you know, a battleship or a cruiser, they're great for dealing with them, and it does certainly have them, so there is that. So they're there if you need them. I feel like, you know, you probably could have bolted them off of the ship and you wouldn't really be missing a whole lot. I would gladly give them up for like a faster main battery reload. You know, maybe like a 30-second base reload instead of 32 seconds. It really feels like they're just there because Wargaming feels like the ship needed something else to make it more attractive. And yeah, sure, in self-defense situations and when things walk up to you and, you know, that's a little scary. Your turrets do take forever to turn, especially with the reload mod. Even with the commander skill, even with Grease the Gears, they still take forever to turn, so I can see where they might be useful there, but really I didn't find myself using them too much outside of, you know, when I had to push up in this match, and, you know, a couple of matches when I was kiting, you know, the ships are at like 13, 14 kilometers, they're going full tilt, so like, yeah, okay, by the time they get there, you know, they'll be within the 10-kilometer range of, you know, from the point where I launched the torps, so yeah, I mean, they're there, but I don't think they're like a core piece of the ship's identity. You know, if maybe they had like some 15-kilometer torpedoes, something like that, yeah, sure, but they're not. They're 10-kilometer torps. So yeah. As far as the ship performed, I mean, hey, this is kind of like what the meta is at higher tier. You know, sit toward the back, snipe away. Yeah. It was a pretty good ship for that. Didn't really have much problems getting the ship to do things. Had problems with the matches lasting long enough for me to do things in the ship. But I mean, yeah, I mean, the guns are really consistent. You got that good Soviet AP. You're hitting targets. If you can, you know, aim and hit targets at range, the shells will obviously do damage. But you do also, of course, have the shortcomings of having 16-inch guns at tier 9, which is naturally, things can go bow into you. You don't have a whole lot of overmatching capabilities in this ship, obviously, with only having 16-inch guns. And you do only have 8 of them, which is on the low side for tier 9. So there are going to be situations when the enemy team, again, very much like when you're playing the Slava, they realize, okay, if I just go bow into this guy, I'm just going to ruin his day because you have 16-inch guns. Then, of course, you can swap to the HE, and with the accuracy of the guns, very much too like the Slava, you can burn them down pretty reliably so, because 40% fire chance per shell, you're firing 8 shells at the target, if you have the reload mod, every, you know, 28, 29 seconds, whatever the reload time is, you will be setting fires, right? But obviously that's not the fun, you know, blapping them with the AP thing that you want to be doing with the Taihang. So, yeah, but I mean, like, it's a pretty darn good ship for the meta. It is another Hizen, right? It's the same friggin' hull we've had 2 times in the game now, but just with a Soviet twist on it. So there's that, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't good at what it does. It is. It's a pretty nice little pickup. There's not too much in the Pan-Asian, you know, tech tree that this can be very useful for. You probably, I mean, all the other Pan-Asian battleships are premium ships, so don't really need a Pan-Asian battleship commander trainer or anything, not yet at least. We'll see what Wargaming has in store for us for the rest of the year, so its uses there are fairly limited. However, of course, this is a completely free ship. You can get this ship completely for free by doing the web campaign missions and just collecting the tokens, and you'll have enough to get this ship. You'll have just enough to get this ship, and if you want the commander or the camo, you have to pony up the rest of the doubloons in order to get it. But it is a free tier 9 premium ship that's good in this meta, has a premium economy, and has, you know, a playstyle that's not likely to go out of season. You know, sniping has always been something that's been very viable in game, and again, the high tier meta is most certainly very much in favor of this ship right now, right? And it's very unlikely that it's going to go out of style. It's good at what it does. So, yeah, this is a free tier 9 premium ship. I would highly recommend you guys pick it up. Again, even if you're not, the People's Liberation Army Navy's biggest fan, but free ship is free ship. Even if you got to play a couple of combat missions to get it, got to cough up some resources to get it, well worth it in my humble opinion. For numerical value, we're going to go with an 8 on the Taihang. Again, it's got those wonderful Soviet 16-inch guns with the excellent ballistics and the firing arcs and everything like that. Oh, turret number 3 can 362, which is pretty neat. That's always a time saver, so you'll have 6 of your 8 guns pretty much always on target if you are from a bow facing perspective, from a stern end perspective. Of course, those front 2 are going to have to take the long way around, but if you're bow tanking, that's it's a nice little pickup there. But yeah, the good Soviet shell ballistics, the flat arcs, the amazing accuracy of the guns. Again, 1.9 Sigma with this dispersion is quite good and fairly consistent. You're going to get a wonky salvo every now and then because RNG is still RNG, and it is still a tier 9, not a tier 10, but you got that going for you. Do you have deep water torpedoes? If you do need them as a self-defense device, or if you are kiting someone from that close, they are useful for that. Again, I didn't find myself using them too much in my time with the Taihang for this review, but they are most certainly there if you need it. The armor is decent enough. It's listed as a negative in the description of the ship, but I'd argue that, if you angle, it's pretty dang solid, especially stern end with that strip of armor over the stern. You go stern in, you get your 8 guns on target, you'll be bouncing shells for days. Now, for the downsides, the ship is quite slow. The AA is very mediocre, but everyone's AA is mediocre, right? Unless you're a Minotaur or a Puerto Rico or like 1 or 2 other ships, right? You do only have 8 guns, and you do have 1 less hill than your standard tier 9 battleship. So it's a pretty well balanced ship in my opinion. You give up the hill, you give up. Oh yeah, another thing too. This in the description, it's it reads as if it's like a beacon. It's got higher than average detectability. Wasn't really a problem. 13 kilometer detectability. 12.5 is considered to be quite good by tier 9 and tier 10 standards, and considering you're at 13 and change, it's not really a bad detectability range once you have a full build into it, in my opinion. And plus you're gonna be sniping with the ship anyway, so it's not really a huge problem. But yeah, I want to put that in the plus or the minus category. That's just kind of like, yeah, it makes sense, I guess. But yeah, no, overall, I think a pretty well-balanced ship. You do have to, of course, be showing broadside to get clapped by this thing. They're 16-inch guns at tier 9 and tier 10. So if you're paying attention, you're angled into it, you'll probably mitigate the damage fairly well. Of course, unless you chunk your superstructure, which of course you can very much do with how accurate these guns are. But yeah, is it a Chinese Slava? Yeah, that's a fair description of it. It's got a little bit different thing going on from the Slava, but you can very much play it like it, and you'll do just fine at it. And again, above all else, it is a free tier 9 ship. So hope you guys enjoyed. Have a wonderful Wednesday, wonderful rest of your week. Let me know what you think about the Taihang in the comments down below. Are you planning on picking it up, or are you going to pass this free tier 9 premium on by? Hope you guys have a wonderful, oh yeah, I did that already. A wonderful Wednesday, wonderful rest of your week. Hope you catch you guys in the next one.